Hey, what's going on, guys? So we got some stuff to talk about. Recently made a video and I was showing those handcuffs. Basically wanted to share the video to show, you know, how handcuffs work, but also just alternatively, because I'm just always thinking and talking out loud, I was giving some reasons as to maybe why I carry them. And you know, a lot of you guys didn't like that. You sent your feedback, and I thank you for it. I do appreciate it. You're absolutely right. You know, if I used handcuffs on someone to detain them, then, you know, I'd be kidnapping, and I'd go right to jail. Right to jail. So, you know, I gave it a lot of thought, and I wanted to figure out something that might be better than that. And I decided to start carrying a hatchet instead. So here's a Fox hatchet. You guys saw this recently, right, in a battle box video. Fantastic little hatchet. Works really well. Still have to put an edge on it. I'm going to be doing that today because I'm going to start incorporating this into my EDC. I know it's kind of big. I can easily carry this along the leg though. So if I put this, I'm not sure if I'm going to utilize the same sheath or not. I might have to modify it because I just want to carry this kind of inside the waistband. The head would basically be resting on the belt area. And so this would run down the side of my leg. This serves a couple purposes. The first one is, you know, if I get into some kind of defensive situation and someone wants to attack the upper thigh, this acts as a perfect barrier for that. So I'm almost thinking about carrying two because I'm only going to be able to protect one leg. You know, like let's say I'm in a situation where, you know, someone has a baton, right, or a baseball bat. Probably a baton. Baseball bats aren't as common. So if they come in for a strike on the upper thigh, boom, I got them. You know what I mean? And then I can retaliate, you know, and counter-strike. But, you know, doing this, I'm realizing I'm leaving the other leg, the other side of my body just kind of wide open. So I might dual carry these. The problem really is that I know that this doesn't seem very normal. You know, almost as if you carried handcuffs, right? That doesn't seem very normal at all. You're kind of a freak. So I have to kind of be convincing in case I do have to take this out and basically decapitate someone in self-defense, which would take more than one swing. I mean, it's got a decent size edge on here, but I don't think, you know, it's going to be very likely to completely remove the head from the body. So it's going to take a couple whacks. Now that's going to seem like a little too much, right? It's not really self-defense. Maybe one swing to the carotid artery. That seems reasonable, but, you know, that second, third, or fourth swing that's going to take to completely remove the head, that's definitely going to be, you know, hard to explain in court. So I already thought about this. I'm not a dummy. What I'm going to do is a lot of my clothes I'm giving to Goodwill. I'm keeping all my flannels and my jeans. And what I'm going to start doing is, because I'm going to be EDCing either one or two of these hatchets, I'm going to sprinkle some sawdust, like whenever I do any kind of wood cutting. I'm going to save all those wood chips and filings and stuff, and I want to kind of convince any kind of police officer, or especially if I have to go to court, that I am in fact a lumberjack. So, you know, if I have a flannel shirt on pretty consistently and some blue jeans and maybe some good work boots, and I have bits and pieces of wood on me, you know, I can always portray that story as if I just, you know, downed a couple trees and I was, you know, trying to peacefully make my way home, and that's when the altercation occurred. All right, so it makes more sense that I have one or more hatchets on my person. So at this point in the video, hopefully you realize how ridiculous this sounds and how fake it is. If you don't, you might not want to watch any of my videos because it's pretty ridiculous. Obviously, I'm responding to the handcuff video, so I wanted to have some fun with it. You know, I have to say, stepping back and looking at the entire picture, it's just a bunch of normal people for the most part. And you're saying, listen, Jeff, you know, you don't want to do that because you're probably going to catch a charge that's unnecessary. That simplifies the whole thing. But some of you went a little overboard, right? Saying I'm a weird guy. Now, granted, that's true. That's 100% true. I am, in fact, a weird guy. But it's really not as big of a deal as you guys are making it out to be. The scenario playing out in real life is so slim to none, I'm really not concerned with it. It kind of reminds me of when I had my, I did videos and I had my, a knife hanging from the rearview mirror of the car. This is back when I had my Chrysler 200. And I had so many comments like, that's illegal, you can't have anything hanging there. If you get pulled over, the cop's going to see the knife and he's going to arrest you immediately and stuff. And like, I've had those situations where I've been pulled over and I've had police officers literally mention, well, one time, one officer once did mention that, you know, hey, is that a knife? And I said, yeah. I said it's just real convenient. If I open my mail in my car or whatever, I'm in a sitting position, I can't get to my pocket knife. They had no problem with it. And yes, it is completely illegal to have any obstruction hanging from your rearview mirror. Now, that's definitely the case for Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if that's a nationwide thing. I would assume that it's probably pretty common. But the cop didn't care. The cop was pulling me over for speeding. I was doing like 11 over the speed limit. He gave me a ticket for it, and that was it. He really didn't care. I've been pulled over where I had a gun clearly visible in the cup holder of my vehicle. Officer came up, noticed the gun. Hey, you got a gun there. Do you have a CCW? And I said yes, because he said, you know, in Pennsylvania, you have to have one in order to have it in your car. I said yes. He didn't even ask to look at it. That was it. Like, people don't, I mean, and of course, this is very, very, very situational. Your police where you are might be completely different. How they act, you know, when they act, who you actually get. You can get pulled over 10 times and have 10 different experiences, right? But the point of me bringing that up is that, you know, even though I got away with having it there, ultimately, I took it down. I don't do that anymore. Just because I can do something, get away with it, doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea. All right, so your comments, and even though I originally got defensive about that, I'm like, well, what do you care? You know, it's my car, it's my thing, it's been fine, I don't have any issues. However, the comments made me really think, and I realized that, you know what? Yeah, maybe it's not worth it, because that one time I get pulled over by a cop who was just in a bad mood, and he wants to make a big deal about it and give me a ticket or start something. So it's probably better to take away my little bit of convenience of having it there and my want to have it there for the better overall chance of having a better situation getting pulled over. Does that make sense? So this is a very similar thing. Now, a lot of people are talking about how illegal it is, you know. I did some research on it. First of all, Pennsylvania, it is completely, that's where I reside, by the way. It might be different where you are. But in the state of Pennsylvania, it is completely legal for you to own handcuffs and or carry them. You can possess handcuffs. Now, if I happen to go to court for some random situation that occurs where I detain someone with handcuffs, yeah, I'd have to fight my side of it. But one argument I would have is, why would it be legal to carry them but illegal to use them? That doesn't really make much sense, right? Beyond that, I did look up some specific law. So if you're interested, Pennsylvania General Assembly, this is Title 18, Section 508. And I come down to D here. It says use of force to prevent suicide or the commission or crime. Number 1, the use of force upon or toward the person of another is justified when the actor believes that such force is immediately necessary to prevent such other person from committing suicide, inflicting serious bodily injury upon himself, committing or consummating the commission of a crime involving or threatening bodily injury, damage to or loss of property, or a breach of the peace, except that, and then section I, any limitations imposed by other provisions of this chapter on a justifiable use of force in self-protection for the protection of others, the protection of property, the effectuation of an arrest, or the prevention of an escape from custody shall apply, notwithstanding the criminality or the conduct against which such force is used, so on and so forth. You could pause the screen and read that if you like. The whole top portion, it really kind of specifically goes into law enforcement, you know, state police. Let's see here. Police officer, let's say private person who is summoned and directed by a peace officer. It goes into different types of officers specifically, but then it gets more vague. So it's not saying you have to be some kind of an officer. And also there are laws for citizens' arrests in Pennsylvania. So what I read, basically, you know, let's say the scenario where I do, again, to a physical altercation with someone and I handcuff their hand to their ankle or something, or I handcuff their hand to a bike rack or whatever. I prevent them from leaving, right? I'm detaining them. There could be an argument in court that it's a citizen's arrest. I have to verbally announce that. I'm making a citizen's arrest. You're being detained, you know, because I believe they're committing a crime. And or I believe that they're going to do harm to themselves, you know. That's all very subjective stuff, right? Now, you could say something. It's really going to depend on a lot of different factors, right? What kind of judge you get, what mood they're in, what they personally believe. You know, if you're getting assaulted and you're physically like just hurt and you're trying to defend yourself, you know, you can always make that claim, of course, that, yeah, I could have used my gun. I could have taken this person's life, but I chose not to. I chose a non-lethal option, and I think I should be rewarded for that, not punished for that. You know, and I think a, you know, logical judge might kind of take that into consideration. So it's not an automatic just go to jail. You know, it's not an automatic, you can't do that. The law is very, very open to specific situations, right? Now, some law is black and white. You can't commit murder, right? There's no justifying that. Well, what about self-defense? Yes, you can't call it murder. It's a self-defense. What? It's not a homicide. I don't even know what you call that. A self-defense taking of life? I don't know. But, you know, I'm just saying, like, it's not so simple as, Jeff, you can't do that. Because, yeah, I could probably do that and get away with it. However, let's go back to the whole point of the knife hanging from the rearview mirror, right? Just because I might be able to do it and get away with it, it doesn't necessarily mean that I want to. Now, again, that was a fleeting thought. It really meant nothing to me. It's not the main reason why I carried I carry handcuffs just because it's cool. It's an interesting item that I can use in a million different ways, not on people, as I mentioned, just in securing two things together, right? It's just it's a fascinating thing to me. It's also crazy, too, because all you guys have watched so many videos. Every EDC video you've seen for years, I've had a handcuff key. Not one person ever said, oh, my God, you have a handcuff key. One person said that's illegal, which it's not. In some states, it is illegal to carry a handcuff key, not where I am. But no one ever gave me crap about it then. It's just kind of odd. Like, why would I have a handcuff key and not handcuffs? But you know what? It doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to be defensive in this video. I'm just trying to be, like, explain the situation a little better. After everything you guys have said, I've decided to still carry handcuffs, but number one, they're not on my person. They're actually in the glove box of my truck. I have decided from your videos to remove them from the glove box of my truck and put them deeper into bags in storage so that it's harder to get to. And the reason I did that, because after thinking about this whole thing, I don't want to get into a situation where a police officer, like I opened the glove box to get maybe my, you know, identification, you know, insurance and registration, and they happen to see that. Now I do keep a, you know, I keep all kinds of stuff in there that might be questionable, but the cuffs might be it might be something that intrigues an officer who maybe doesn't have great intentions to, I don't know, a reason to search the car, let's just say. Let's say they see the handcuffs and they say, okay, well, that's reason enough for me to search your vehicle, and I say no, and it becomes a whole thing, and they get back up there, and they do it anyway. You know, it's just, well, I just don't want to get into more of a situation than I need to. So I appreciate your feedback, because it really made me think about it a little bit more. It didn't make me not carry them anymore. You know, part of me deep down really just, maybe it's a guy thing, but it's kind of like when someone tells you you can't do something, it makes you want to do it more. I mean, that might be a human thing, but I feel like it's definitely a guy thing too. Like, no, bro, you can't do that. Who are you to tell me I can't do it? You know, now I want to do it. So there's a little bit of that there, a little bit of stubbornness for sure, but it's completely legal. There's no legal issues at all with me having them. What I do with them in the future is up to me. And again, a rule without law type situation, a there's no cops around situation, I'd very much like to have those handcuffs. And there are no laws at that point. So I do whatever I want to do, and whatever happens, happens. So that's one reason that I still am going to be keeping them in my vehicle at least. But they are hard to get to. They're sight, you know, at a sight, no thought about it, no worry about it. Accessing them is even more difficult than it was before. So that scenario that plays out where I get into an unarmed confrontation that gets physical and I end up handcuffing them is, again, it went from 1 in a billion to 1 in a trillion, you know, so it's not a concern. That's all. It's not a concern. However, I am really kind of considering the whole thigh protection with this Hatchet EDC. What do you guys think of that? So anyway, just like I said, I mean, I'm having some fun, but I also wanted to kind of respond to this in the masses because I was a little bit surprised for sure. I was not expecting that. I thought the comments would be like, oh, it's interesting. I didn't know how handcuffs work. Now I do. Oh, that's cool. Like, that's it. I'm not like preaching, dude, you got to carry handcuffs now and all this stuff. It's just crazy to me that so many of you are just totally okay with, hey, someone's trying to hurt you, take their life with a firearm. But you're just so hell-bent on, oh no, you can't possibly handcuff someone. Yeah, and now, you know, when you use your firearm for self-defense, there's always that small possibility that you go to jail because you thought it was okay and it wasn't. You know, I did call the state police to ask about the handcuffs. I wanted to use the audio from that. They said no. I just asked them. I don't know the specific laws. With, I think Pennsylvania is like a two-party state where you have, like, both parties need to know they're being recorded. I don't know. I don't want to get into the whole thing. I don't want it to be a problem, so I don't have the audio for you to play here because I asked them if I can use it in a video, and they said no. But the police, the state officer, said that they can't give legal information. So I asked twice, because I called and said, listen, it's not an emergency or anything. I just have a legal question about handcuffs. And they said, what's your question? And I said that, you know, I know it's legal to possess handcuffs in Pennsylvania. What if a citizen were to use those handcuffs in some kind of a fight scenario to detain that person until a police officer arrives for their own safety? And he said, well, I can't give legal advice. And so I said again, okay, well, I understand that. You're not a lawyer. You're not here to give legal advice. But is there a black and white law saying you can't do that? And his response was, again, I can't give you legal advice, but I would imagine that there are scenarios where that would be fine. And that was it. And I said, okay, thank you for your time. Have a good day. So there you go. I mean, like I said, and what's interesting too is police officers are not lawyers and they're not expected to know all the laws. And this shocks people. Well, how can you enforce the law if you don't know what it is? Well, they know some basic laws. And I've talked about this a lot of times before in the past with knives specifically. Cops in general don't know all the knife laws. They don't know all the ins and outs. What they do know is that if they feel like you are a threat, right, by having a knife when you're in custody, let's say, because they're not just searching your pockets, what would happen is they would be arresting you. They would go through your pockets. Oh no, you have a knife. They would take the knife and just temporarily, you know, take it from you, I guess, right? So that goes to court, and that may or may not be a separate charge, like a weapons offense charge. So they don't have to know the law. It's just if they don't feel comfortable, they do what they do. And as we know, cops do legal things and illegal things all the time. So not every police officer is fully informed of what you are or not allowed to do. But again, the side of the road or a parking lot is not the time to argue with police officers. Yes, I could do this. You don't know what you're talking about. No, the court is the time and place to discuss what your legal, options are. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Like I said, so because of your comments, maybe think a little bit more. I did deep stack the handcuffs, okay? They've never been on my person. Let me just make that clear. I don't carry them in a little holster or whatever on my waist. It's not like that. You know, I don't want anyone thinking, oh, Jeff thinks he's a cop or something. Because I've gotten that before, too, when carrying a gun and knives. Be like, oh, wait, so you think you're a cop just because you carry a gun? No, not at all. I think very, very few people think that way. I'm sure there's people out there where you have a power trip or whatever, so you feel powerful carrying a gun. I can definitely say after talking to thousands, literally thousands of gun owners, that is not the general consensus. The vast majority of gun owners that I've talked to, including myself, just like being prepared. And again, that's why I find it a little strange that so many people who are so for being prepared are so against having just another option of preparedness. That's all it is. It's another layer. It's just so many of you assume that is a unnecessary layer. Interesting, but it is what it is. So that's all. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. I am actually going to put an edge on this because it needs one. Out of the box, not so great. But that's all. Hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video.